Medina, good to see you. It appears that we have an answer. The world powers have failed to resolve their deadlock. Tell us more.
Well, the talks have ended indeed, and the breakthrough that everyone's been waiting for, well, it seems they will have to wait a little bit longer. Now, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that progress was made and the lion's share of work was done. Now the details remain.
We've had very serious progress. We have agreed to continue negotiating, and within 3 or 4 months we expect to have a document that will contain all the basic principles whose implementation will be a technical issue for technical consultations and deliberations.
Meanwhile, the UK Foreign Minister said that work was done in terms of easing economic restrictions against Iran. Now, in particular, the country will be able to withdraw up to $700 million from its foreign accounts. Otherwise, the parties haven't mentioned any reasons behind the failed talks, but unnamed sources claim that the sticking points remain the same. Well, first, the scoop of the Iran's nuclear program. Now, the West wants the country to reduce its capacity. However, in response, Tehran refuses to stop enriching uranium at 20%. And of course, the future of the Arak facility, as some Western states fear that the heavy water reactor has enough capacity to produce a nuclear weapon. So as you can see, the 10th round of talks has ended here in Vienna with no final agreement reached between the parties.
OK, thanks to our correspondent Medina Kochen for bringing us the latest live there from Vienna. Now, for more on the deadlock over Iran's nuclear deal, let's bring in Kaveh Afrasiabi. He's a political scientist, former member of Iran's nuclear negotiation team. Welcome to the programme. I'd just like to start by picking up on what we've heard from Sergei Lavrov, the Foreign Minister of Russia, also from the British Foreign Minister. Now, both of them particularly positive, it seemed, in their tone about these negotiations. Are you optimistic yourself that they will be able to hit a deal before that next deadline, which they've pushed back to June of next year?
Well, first of all, let me correct you by saying that I was never a member of the team, but an advisor to the negotiation team several years ago. Well, from an Iranian point of view, it's difficult to be overly enthusiastic about the absence of a deal today. A lot of Iranian people had vested their hopes in a major breakthrough that would end the oppressive and just sanctions on Iran. And now they're going to have to wait another 6-7 months to see if this is going to happen or not. And, you know, there's going to be a change of characters. Catherine Ashton, the EU representative, is out of the picture, and so is most likely William Burns, the Deputy Secretary of State, who's been a key interlocutor, particularly with respect to the bilateral negotiations between Iran and the US. And we'll see how much of a factor that will be. You know, the devil is in the details, and I do not have a very good picture right now of the nature of the concessions that was given to Iran in order to agree to this interim two, which, by the way, I predicted 7 months ago. Nevertheless, you know, the bottle is half empty, and there's expected opposition to this in Iran. The conservatives and some hardline voices had already expressed dissatisfaction with the idea of an extension, because issues such as the Arak heavy water reactor is in a state of limbo. You know, a lot of money has been spent on it, and there's talk of redesigning its core, which will take some time, and so on. And the purpose of that reactor is to produce radioisotopes for the Iranian cancer patients, and so on. So, you know, there's going to be mixed reception in Iran with respect to this latest development.
Yeah, we heard the politicians speaking quite positively. What about public response, though? Because as we understand, there were protests in Vienna, rallies against a deal with Iran. How strong do you think the anti-Iranian sentiment is, and does it have any effect upon the negotiators?
Well, unfortunately, I think that they'll be dancing in Riyadh and Tel Aviv today, as well as the hawkish members of the U.S. Congress. that there was no breakthrough, and we saw some last-minute effort by the members of the Republican Party sending letters to President Obama, and without even knowing the details of any deal, prejudging it as a bad deal. And so, you know, I think that it was a combination of excessive demands by the U.S., lack of political will, and the inability of the Obama administration to take a heroic stance that led to the absence of a breakthrough today.
Okay, we're hearing the thoughts of Kaveh Afrasiabi, political scientist, former advisor, just to correct that, to Iran's nuclear negotiation team. Thanks so much for coming on, RT.